Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Protective and Emergency Services Committee, June 19th, 12:03, I believe. Call the meeting to order. Can I get approval of the agenda? Moved by Mayor Brown, second by Councillor Norman Beck. Any of the conflicts of interest? Seeing none. Approval of the previous draft minutes, May 21st, 2024. Moved by Mayor Brown, second by Deputy Mayor Yankoff. Was there any business arising from those minutes?
Chair,
Go ahead.
just under the number regarding the outdoor patios. So we signed the agreements, I think, for 16, right, Chief? 16. And if you calculate the number of parking spaces for those 16, it'll be 40 spaces that will be removed from downtown parking. So significant investment for our downtown restaurants, cafes, and businesses. So I think it's a good move, but, you know, there's talk about maybe looking at decommissioning a couple more parking spaces for transit. Like, we have to do an overall, a big picture view of anything we do that affects parking. It has an impact on, visitors, customers, businesses in the downtown. So I just wanted to note that. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. You got any comments, Chief? or-
Yeah, Chair, Your Worship, it is 40. I think we had allocated and expected maximum but 43 spaces for the allowable spaces, but as you indicated, if there's desire to reclaim more spaces, there should be looked in its totality of the impact for available parking, and I think that would fall within our Public Works domain to do that as they look after the parking.
Thank you
There's
both.
something, Councillor Ramsey.
Councillor Beck, go ahead.
Yeah, I just noticed there's still a few of our patios that are square with angular parking spaces. And I think they're taking up another space because of they're square like this, but they should be angular. And I thought we were requiring that the spaces be angular, or maybe I'm mistaken on that, or because there are a few a couple that I can think of offhand that are still square. And are they supposed to be angular, or have we made some accommodation for square patios on angular instead of being angular?
Yeah, Chair, Councilor Beck, the original issues with the patios not being in alignment with the parking spaces they paid for, my understanding has been corrected. I think what you're seeing now is them only taking partial use of spaces that they're paying for. So all the spaces are angled, but the way it's squared off, they're paying for that extra parking spot, but only using a portion of it.
So if I'm, the ones I'm thinking of, or one in particular that I can think of, so you're saying that it takes up squarely 2 spots and then it infringes on almost 2 others. So they're paying for 4 spots?
That's correct.
Oh? Okay. Did not know that. It's good to ask questions. Just one other thing, just from the business, if you don't mind, Chair, just where are we? Last time we were with the street vendor merging those bylaws together, the street vendor bylaw and the COVID temporary patio program, it was with legal. Are we any further along on that than we were last time? Or is it still hanging there?
Chief?
That'd be under item 5 on page 2.
Yeah, I can tell you, I had staff reach out to the legal team at Cox and Palmer last week to inquire about the status, and I don't believe we had gotten a return call for an update.
Okay,
So it's still outstanding.
okay. All right.
That's it, Councillor Beck,
That's good.
for that part. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go right to reports. Operational report, Deputy Fire Chief Kent Mitchell. Kent, please.
Chair, Your Worship. This report's May 1st to May 31st inclusive. During this time period, we had 15 general inspections, 3 inspections with hazard compliance orders issued, 4 inspections that were closed files, 15 plan reviews, permits, 2 fire investigations, 15 education sessions and fire drills. Emergency responses totaled 63. Station 1 had 25. Engine 1 had 11 from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Engine 1 had 2 from 12 a.m. or midnight to 8 a.m. And District 2 had 24, and there was 1 fire inspector call-out during that period. At this time, I'd like to thank all firefighters in both districts, 1 and 2, for the great job during last week's structure fire on Elena Court. I would also like to give a big thanks to our partner here in the Emergency Services, Charlottetown Police Service, who are of great assistance not only in the initial response, but in supporting right through the investigation. So big thanks to our partners, Charlottetown Police Service. Would also like to thank Central Dispatch for the great job they did during this event, as well as Medicom Dispatch. Island EMS were a great on-scene partner as well. They provided excellent backup for us and actually treated some firefighters and some residents on scene as well. I would also like to thank North River Fire for standby service and on-scene help during the event. And then, of course, Red Cross for helping assist with the residents of this affected by the incident. And also, I'd like to acknowledge many businesses and support from the public to the residents and to firefighters affected by this incident. So thank you to everybody. Training during this period will continue to the last week of June before taking a break in September. We are very pleased to announce that there are 6 new Level 1 firefighters with the Charlottetown Fire Department. We'd like to congratulate and welcome the following firefighters who are official firefighters: Michael Bannister, Stephen Petrie, Thomas McKenney, Lindsay Birch, Kadeem Forrester, Kareem Al-Sharoui, and Michael Laverne. So we'd like to give them a big welcome to officially being firefighters in the Charlottetown Fire Department. And I know they'll do a great job for us. As well, we'd like to congratulate our firefighters who completed Level 2 firefighter training. Also, 9 firefighters attended the Atlantic Fire Department Information Conference training, which took place at Acadia University from June 7th to the 9th. Also, Firefighter 2, Bobby Chandler, and Captain Scott Ryan recently completed a week-long Blue Card Incident Command Instructor Training course. Also, firefighters completed Rapid Intervention Crew training, as well as high-performance CPR. Some other activities that occurred during this period were EMO Touch-a-Truck event occurring on May 5th. We're involved in EMO Municipal Information Session in Emerald, May 7th. We participated in McHappy Days, May 8th. We had participation in the Workers' Compensation Conference on May 9th. We Canada Scouts had a tour of Station 1 with Island EMS and Charlottetown Police Service on May 16th. And we participated in the Mulch Fire Safety event at Kent Building Supplies on May 18th. During the month of May, there was also 130 children students received fire safety education training. As well, there were 90 adults employees of various education long-term facilities received fire safety training during this period. That concludes my report. Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chief. She's been a busy month. And I'm very pleased how everything is going. And once again, we all would like to thank Charlottetown Fire Department and Charlottetown Police Services for that bad fire there last week. Like we know, It's a tough job he's had, but he's did a great job. Any questions for the Deputy Chief?
Mr. Chair, just under operations, I know we've been talking about, climatic issues, catastrophic climatic issues, hurricanes, snowstorms, freezing weather. Of course, as summer comes upon us, you get these heat domes now that are part of the vocabulary. Are we working with other NGOs or agencies to ensure that, we have adequate cooling, let's say for example, cooling stations or areas where persons, whether young, old, marginalized, unwanted, unwelcomed, are able to get access to something that would provide some places of comfort during these extreme heat days that are now, and I'm sure we'll be seeing them throughout the summer. And I did mention it to the chief before coming in. I just want to get it on the public record that we have to be aware of that, reaching out and being available.
Yes, I can take that, Chair,
ahead,
and
Chief.
Your Worship. Thank you very much for that. As you mentioned, we did have a quick discussion, and we are having some internal discussions with the city facilities that are open throughout the city, and also with other organizations. So we are having those discussions, and we should have some public messaging out in the near future, Your Worship.
And just quick follow-up, Mr. Chair. So we don't have to declare a state of emergency when we're looking at just extending basic services, water, air conditioned areas and so forth. I think we can, move out of that, that procurement, and I shouldn't say procurement, but that required call procedure. And I just want to make sure that, we have that service available. And I know, Chief, all protective and emergency services are quite aware of it. It's just I want to remind us that we do have a responsibility for the citizens of the citizens of the city of Charlottetown. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Great point. Okay, that was it for Deputy Chief, I believe. Fire Underwriter Survey update. Chief Tim Mame, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this report has to do with the fire underwriters report or update that we were receiving. Excuse me. This report's purpose is to provide council with an update on the fire underwriter survey report, originally due in June of this year. And the staff recommendation is that council receive this report as information. Charlottetown Fire Department contracted UPTA to conduct the fire underwriter survey to receive updated city infrastructure information and determine the optimized number and locations of fire stations for the city, now and into the future, by assessing current and future building stock and required fire flows. Unfortunately, the lack of past and current city geographic information system, or GIS data, has forced a delay in the collection of the data required to complete the report by the original timeline. Our GIS personnel within the city are diligently collaborating with the contractors to complete the required data entry, and this unforeseen delay will result in a reassessed timeline for report completion in late August 2024. This has been discussed through various committees and council meetings in the past 2023 and 24. There are no further financial implications at this point, no for public engagement. Municipal Government Act and the Protective Emergency Services Bylaw are the legislative authorities for this report. And the Fire Underwriter Survey report will encompass a whole of the city approach to help determine the current and future needs to build upon the community building initiatives the city is developing. And the good governance approach to all activities remains consistent, and ensuring sustainability is a core driving factor when assessing future building development and population increase. That concludes that report, Chair. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. So you're basically saying that we're going to have more info, just for information, and we're going to have more in August, I guess, when the report is that what you're saying?
That's correct, Chair. By late August, we're expecting the draft report back for internal discussion and review.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? I know your worship does.
I do.
June at the
I'm
bit.
following this with a lot of interest. To respect the Chief of Fire Services, Tim Mamie. Chief, when you say GIS data, and we look at our capital region, we have the Stratford Fire Services, which is in Stratford. We have the North River Fire Department, which is just on the west side of the North River. I know we have a mutual protective services agreement with those departments. Will that be included in the GIS?
Thank you, Your Worship, for the question. And Chair, no, Your Worship, that's outside of the city is nothing to do with the actual fire underwriter survey report that we've contracted. And the GIS data is just that. It's data that we are lacking, the layers of input that take time to put in. What they're really struggling with is the expected growth in certain regions of the city. For past years, how they generally try to I guess, speculate or estimate what the natural growth is supposed to be in a certain area. Well, because we're converting these days essentially farmland into developments, where for the past 20 years, every 5 years on the assessment, that area did not grow by one person. When all of a sudden we're putting 1,200 homes into the area, it's hard for the GIS data to keep up with that unless we have the proper program in place. And we did not, as a city, have any GIS capability, or very little outside of water and utility. So we've got that now, and we're compiling all that data to provide to the contractors. But it does not include anything outside of the city.
So just to follow up, Mr. Chair, so Chief, you did get a draft report, right? I thought you just had a draft. Never had a draft? Oh, I thought from our
No, Your
May
Worship.
meeting, the draft report was coming up in June, and that you would have a look at it first and then report to us. So there's no draft at all?
No, correction. That is what this report is about, Your Worship, is advising that the draft, which was due in June, the draft report is now due in late August because of the lack of data. Simply GIS data, which is inputting of all of the properties on the city now. So all of the building stock, their footprints has to be on there for the GIS data. And also the 5 and 10-year projections for pieces of land. So within the city, any vacant land is looked at as potentially for growth in regards to residences or businesses.
Right.
So our GIS data has to match with what they're putting together with this report. So they're waiting for more information, basically.
So under the MGA, Municipal Government Act, anytime we do a service, we have to go out to tender. So we went out to tender on this, correct?
No, Your Worship, we went out to,
Soul search?
it was because Opta is the only fire underwriter survey company for this region. So
Okay.
that's who we had to use.
So the tender had parameters, and now we've changed the parameters? Or was this always known, and now we're just finding out that we have to get that information for GIS data collection and implement it or make it part of the final report?
Yes, Your Worship. So the whole intent of this report is just to advise that due to a lack of data that they were able to gather, the draft report, which was due in June, will now take until August for them to compile all of the information that we're going to provide them and have their specialists imported into the Charlottetown plan. So that was originally intended to occur in June. When they were here for the site visit, they gathered all of the tangible information or information they could grab by hand. The GIS data was outstanding, so there was a hope that it could be put in time for the June timeline, but obviously that hasn't happened. So our draft report is due in August now.
So just last question, Mr. Chair. So with this GIS data and all the other information that the investigator or researcher is putting together, he will have a recommendation about where we're going with 1, 2, 3, 4 stations and where they're going. Is that going to be in the final report in August?
Yes, Your Worship, that's exactly what the report is going to detail, the optimized number of stations within the city and optimized locations.
So it's just a report, Mr. Chair, because we've had other FUS reports, and that's why we got a site out there on Malpeck Road that looked at as one of the possible sites. So it's only a report, a recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So the moral of the story is, once they get all the information, they'll be bringing the report back in August as a draft. Go ahead, Councillor Beck.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the timelines in this. I mean, this would be the most highly anticipated report to ever reach the chamber of that I've been here in terms of coming, but it would seem odd to me, Chief, and maybe help me understand, but wouldn't that GIS data with population projections and land transformation and where the population, wouldn't that be required at the start? Like, we're just finding, it seems we're just finding this out now. Like, wouldn't that have had to have been an initial part to try and figure out, we're going to see projections going out in this area, so we should possibly be looking, I'm just trying to understand it. Maybe there's another answer, but would that not be a requirement right up front as opposed to, what are we now, 18 months into?
More,
Or more?
5 years.
Okay. Well,
I'll take that
however
question
long
if
it's
you
been.
want.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
Sorry,
that's
I'm just trying to understand
Certainly.
things a little bit better.
The issue is that the city of Charlottetown, until we hired our GIS technician or GIS, I'm not sure what his title is, and we have a technician under him now, we had no capability within the city, so we had no data. We didn't have that layer of information that we were able to pull up and use ourselves and/or provide anybody. So that was known early on because we didn't have those capabilities. But between our GIS technician and the contractor, there was lots of information shared. They have tons of data. They just require a bit more that we didn't have, and it's taking that time to put it together and then provide it to the contractor.
Thanks, Chief.
Can I just follow up there, Chair? So, again, the reason I say 5 years, because in 2019, I know the chief of police was around that table, and the former fire chief was at the table that we looked at a 30,000 square foot facility, then we went back, and then look, this has been going on, and this doesn't date back to you, chief, it's our previous administration, but you know, when we talk about fire services and we know how crucial they are, like Elena Court, like Hurley Street, these are, you know, big incidents, huge incidents that require quick response. But, you know, the facilities are very much important on that inventory infrastructure that we have. So, Chief, can we say definitively that it will be ready in August? Or is there something other, is there another minefield out there that maybe we haven't discovered yet? Can we get an assurance on that?
Your worship, yes, in the back and forths I've had with both the contractor and our GIS technician, this is the last hurdle, but it is going to take some time, and then both our GIS technicians and their GIS technicians have to coordinate this information so that it makes sense in the report to the people like ourselves who are not the techs. But that is the word I'm getting from contractor now, and I've tried to hold them to it, and we're working through the process.
In terms of taking time, we're saying, we're stretching this out, taking time. End of August is like that 60-plus days. That's going to be enough. Again, it's GIS, and we're only talking about Charlottetown, East Raleigh, West Raleigh, those areas that are still undeveloped, which I thought would have been part of the investigation right from the start, because that's all potential development for the city of Charlottetown, extending right out to, as you know, out to the corner of St. Peter's Road and the York Road, which is now has been annexed to the city of Charlottetown. And, you know, there could be other extensions hopefully down the road, but this is 60-plus days. We're pretty good with that date.
That's the hope again, Your Worship. And just a quick explanation on what they actually have to do. And you mentioned some of the land that was annexed and/or the other land that's out in that area being developed. The problem is that every 5 years by census, they determine how much the population is growth in a certain area. And they don't just do the city, they do blocks of the city. So there are certain blocks that have showed zero growth for the last 100 years that potentially are going to have, as I mentioned, 1,200 units or 2,400 units in there next year. Without having those developments in hand or already planned, the GIS technicians have to try to get the information provincially and also look at the growth of the city, but they're basically developing this stuff from scratch because it doesn't exist. So when you're going from zero population growth to a massive one, it's hard to project that unless you actually see it in front of you. So the lands that are still not projected for growth, there has to be an estimation done on that as well. So it takes some time, and there's a formula for that. And once again, the technicians are the ones to work through this. I just received the updates.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and we're really hoping that August is going to be the date, Chief. As the mayor stated.
It's not
a lot
just
of
my
times-
birthday, we're hoping for both things in
Yeah,
August.
okay. Because it's been pushed down the road a couple times. Okay, let's go to number C, purchase of 12 self-contained breathing apparatus and accessories. Fire Chief Jim Main.
Thank you once again, Chair. Yes, this is a report titled the sole source purchase of 12 self-contained breathing apparatus, or SCBAs, and accessories. And SCBAs are simply the backpacks with breathing air on the back, mask on the front, and the accessories that go along with that. This report is to seek approval through the committee for resolution to council for that purchase, and that council approved the sole sourcing of 12 self-contained breathing apparatus and accessories in accordance with the city's procurement policy. Charlottetown Fire received approval in the 24-25 capital budget for a 5-year upgrade and replacement schedule for our existing inventory of SCBAs. We currently use Mine Safety Appliance, or MSA, G1 units. I'm sorry for all the acronyms, but that is the industry we're in. And these upgrades and replacement units are consistent with our current stock and operational platform, which is very important. These new units and upgrades will provide enhanced safety and search and rescue capabilities that we currently lack. And K&D Pratt are the official MSA suppliers in the Atlantic region, and the sole source purchase allows the department to maintain continuity in the safe use of these vital life safety components. When adding to the current stock or replacing aging units if possible, it is always in the best interest of the city to ensure compatibility with existing units in use and the safety practices employed by the end users, which are our firefighters on the ground. Our current MSA stock has served the city very well with limited servicing issues and many successful responses during firefighting and rescue operations or activities. Council or committee history, the approval purchase of the 12 units and accessories during the 24-25 capital budget process as part of a 5-year replacement program. The cost for the 12 units and accessories is $193,041.99 as approved in the 24-25 capital budget. Municipal Government Act and Protective and Emergency Services Bylaw, once again, legislate our reports. And the safety first approach to all actions carried out by Charlottetown Fire, while being aware of the new advances in technology to further improve current search and rescue practices, advances both member and public safety. Using good government practices once again to plan for the replacement and improvement of current and future SCBA purchases and use is essential for the city being responsible and respective. And that concludes my report, Chair.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions to the chief on those breathing apparatus, which is needed? Okay. Deputy Mayor, you're okay?
We have to move.
Do we need to move up to council? Do we have approval to move it up to council? Moved by Councillor Beck, second by Deputy Mayor Yankoff. All those in favor? 3-0. Thank you. Great when I don't have to vote. Takes a lot of pressure off me, Norman. Okay, I believe. Thank you for that, Chief and Deputy Chief. Number D, abandoned and uninhabited buildings, excuse me, within the city of Charlottetown. Police Chief Brad McConnell.
Thank you, Chair. We have 3 reports in our package. The first is correct, yes, an update on the abandoned and uninhabited buildings in the city of Charlottetown. At the request of council, the bylaw officer has compiled a list of uninhabited vacant buildings in the city. There are currently 8 properties identified. Each property is at a different stage of the process, but no property currently meets the criteria to be forwarded to council for a resolution under the Dangers, Hazards, and Unsightly Premises bylaw at this time. And I have a number of, a list of the properties identified. I could go through them if it was necessary.
Would you like them to go through them, folks, or just we're okay the way we are? Councillor Beck, you're good with just,
No, I don't think he has to go through them. I think we've seen most of them.
yes.
I do have a question though, or just a couple of things.
Go ahead.
If you look under numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then it's just they will be issued the week of October 24th, 2023. So I think they have been issued the hazard compliance orders. Like, should that just state hazard compliance order issued the week of October? I think they were originally sent in the report, but just looking at it, just if we could clean that up.
Yeah, like instead of putting will be, just put has been. Has been
Yeah,
issued.
has been issued or HCO issued. The other question I have, I know Scott Adams from Public Works presented we called it a 5-step process or something that was, I think it involved consultation with you, chief, maybe, and maybe different departments. Like, it involved conversations with Island Waste Management. It involved these kind of multi-step process, which I still think is too long. And I don't know where we're at with that. I was just asking his worship there a minute ago if we've approved it, and I couldn't recall offhand, but I'm just thinking, like, I'm looking at some of these properties. There's the one on Upper Prince Street. It's been year over year, we've been talking about that, and we are getting into, it just seems it's been dragging on and dragging on and dragging on, and nothing has been, other than right now with the hazardous compliance order being issued on October 4th, 2023, but now it's an 18-month clock, because they have 18 months from that point on, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so the chances are in 18 months, we're probably not going to be seeing much happening. I don't suspect, if we haven't seen much happening in the past 2 years. So I guess that's where I'm kind of concerned, is that we have properties that can be potentially used to inject into our shortage of housing supply that we have in the city, and they're just sitting there idle. And I think that's my frustrating part, is that our process, and I don't know if our new process is going to address that any differently, because I think it's almost a replication of what we're doing. And again, it's because of our bylaw and what our bylaws are saying. So it requires a change in our bylaw, and I understand that. But maybe I don't know, Chief, if you have any thoughts on that, or if anyone has any thoughts on that, in terms of how we can expedite it. I know I've had some conversations with Todd Sutcliffe about some properties. We're going back, they're repeat offenders. Year over year, we're doing the same thing over and over again. The education process is really doesn't mean so much, but here we are coming back. I know I've had conversations with Kent as well about some properties too that, unfortunately, and not anything that Kent is doing or not doing, it's just you're bound by the processes that we have. And I just find it a little frustrating myself. And I don't know, Chief, if you have any comment on that.
Chair, Councillor Beck, absolutely, I think we find it frustrating also. Having sat in this chair and the deputy chair for quite some time, this is a frustration that has lingered for quite some time. I think generations of councils have struggled with this issue too. And it's not easily solvable because there's so many variables in the equation and the assessment process when you look at these. But certainly we're happy to play a part in any sort of brainstorming exercise to try to find efficiencies in addressing these issues. But, it's certainly, something that is time consuming, and there's really no quick, time from start to finish to address these issues currently, for sure.
But even on the side of, like, bringing stuff to council, like, it has to go through all these processes, and then it comes to council, and then it goes back. Like, can we not even eliminate some of those steps and get back, go through, I mean, I'm all for the education piece. I'm all for having property owners understand where adjustments have to be made or improvements have to be made. I'm all for that. But when we're seeing this cycle just continually repeat itself, the education piece has lost its impact. And I think we have to be able to move the needle a little more quickly after having done that education piece, because it's been proven, you've said it yourself, generations of council or various iterations of council have been faced with the same thing. I'm only in there 18 months. Poor old Mr. Councillor Ramsey's been looking at this for 12 years, right? His worship even longer. So.
And that's my point too, Councillor Beck, and I agree with you. Like, we've been beating this horse to death, but I believe the bylaw has to be changed, is it not, Your Worship? I don't know, but I kept saying, if we can take the middleman out of it, which is basically council, if their bylaw officer goes up and he gives this, and there's a time frame to it, it's at 18 months again, but people are certainly not going to look at it. Because they say, I get 18 months, so then let's hope they sort of forget about it.
18 months plus the other time that it took to get to that
exactly.
stage.
And getting back to your point too, which you mentioned that you're saying that with the shortage of housing in the city, which is true, but the owners of some of these properties, no matter what they're going to do with them, like some people, it's a tax loss for them, or there's something along that line. They're not just going to turn them over to somebody and say, okay, I'm going to rent them out to you, because we don't personally know what their options are for these properties, like 148 Upper Prince Street, for example. I don't even know who owns that, but I mean, the person who owns it might not say, well, I'm not going to rent it out.
It may not.
Yeah, so, but there has to be something done to it, because you can't have these abandoned homes here all through the city. First of all, they're not safe, but they keep checking up on it. I'm with you. If there's some way we can speed everything up, I'm all for it. And I don't know how we're going to do it. We've been beating this horse to death, and does the bylaw have to be changed? Does anyone know that, Chief?
I think it's broader than the bylaw, Chair. I think there's linkages to the MGA also. And so I think it's a bigger picture and some limitations, yeah.
I think we've discussed this in Public Works, if not here. There's constitutional rights because property rights are in the Constitution. Like, you just can't, I think that's why, Councillor Beck, I think that's why we're part of the process. As a city, as a council, we have to be the body, elected body, to say, go in there and clean it up. It's like, I know we're 26 bylaws that we're looking at? Hopefully this is at the top of the scale.
Okay. It's either one of the things. I mean, let's either stop talking about it or do something with it. Like, I mean, I don't want to be, I mean, I guess that's just my source of frustration, is that we just seem to be in a stagnant with this. And I don't like sitting around with hanging fire of stuff. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. We'll see what we can do.
And Mr. Chair, if I could just add, I did speak to, it was last year, I spoke to Mayor Donna Raridan from City of St. John, and her staff, intergovernmental affairs, are looking at bylaws for vacant properties. She has forwarded that information to me, and I forwarded that on to management, and also, I don't know, Chief, if you were part of it, but I can forward that information. So they're working with their provincial government in New Brunswick to amend whether it's the Planning Act or Property Tax Act, to incorporate a vacant building tax or assessment to it. So that's something we can look at, but Councillor Beck, it has to stay on the agenda, because this is how we're getting to, getting some results. We saw it on NASA Street. You saw results on University Avenue. So it's getting a lot more attention than I've ever seen before. So I think it is having an effect on what we're doing. Thank you.
Just on that note, I think we should remove Nassau from this list because it's been demolished, right?
Yeah, I've made a note to have the list refreshed and.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, where are we at here? E, dangerous, hazardous, unsightly bylaw infractions. Police Chief Brad McConnell, please.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is that to have 7 properties in Charlottetown cleaned up in accordance with the dangerous, hazard, and unsightly premises bylaw. And the staff recommendation in relation to this is that the council give the Public Works Manager authorization to cut grass, remove any trees, garbage, and other materials or debris dangerous or otherwise, clean up and properly dispose of the same at the property owner's expense at 17 to 21 Ashburn Crescent, 38 Westcombe Crescent, 21 Barrymore Court, 11 Much Crescent, 85 to 87 Brackley Point Road, 80 Massey Drive, and 45 Barden Crescent in accordance with the terms of the dangerous, hazard, and unsightly bylaw of the City of Charlottetown.
Very good. Do we need a motion to move that to council?
Go
Go
again,
ahead.
Chief.
Sorry.
This is where I keep bringing up the summary offense ticketing bylaw. I know it's working through planning, I guess, but with Mike Russ here, our Director of Integrated Growth, if we had a ticketing system in place, they wouldn't have to go to council, because this is under dangerous, hazardous, unsightly bylaw. So it's ticketing the person or the property owner for not adhering to the bylaw. So do we know where we're at with that, Mr. Chair, with that summary offense ticketing bylaw? Could we ask?
Michael, can
through
you
you
speak to that,
to-
please?
Through you, Chair, to the Director of Integrated Growth, Mr. Mike Russ.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to your worship. Currently, that file is still sitting with legal. We'll be able to bring an update back through Donna's office shortly.
Shortly, could that be July or maybe August?
I'll check in with Melanie, with our legal representatives, and see when they're available.
So, Chief, the reason I bring that into this conversation, that would mitigate you providing a report on these abandoned, dangerous, hazardous, unsightly premises. If we had something in place where, I'd say the Todd Sutcliffe, or bylaw enforcement officer, or the person that works with him, is it Elizabeth who works with him in planning?
Chair, your worship, yeah, obviously, we are hoping to get that point also. And I think some of the perhaps delays, and I'm only speculating on this point, but because we have so many bylaws under review, there's a lot of interlinking, like foundational bylaw, like summary offense, can have impacts on other bylaws. So seeing how one changes could impact foundational bylaws like the summary offense. So we are also looking forward to, seeing that and making it somewhat impactful, in sparing council from having to deal with these and provide more statistical information regarding ticketing and the enforcement side of it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Good question, your worship. Chief? Okay, F, distracted driving stats. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, could I I'm putting a motion there to move this to council. Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff. Who am I going to pick? Let's say Councillor Beck. All those in favor? 3-0. Thank you. Okay, we're good? F, distracted driving stats. Police Chief Brad McConnell.
Thank you, Chair. My final report involves providing council with an update on the distracted driving statistics. I think Council Beck, was you had requested? Yeah. So what I can report, since January 2024, Charlottetown Police Services have issued 34 summary offense tickets and 5 warnings for a driver driving with holding or using handheld communication device capable of receiving or transmitting phone calls, electronic data, email, or text message pursuant to Section 291, subsection 1 of the Highway Traffic Act. I should also note, though, officers do have the discretion to charge a person using a cell phone under Section 290 of the Highway Safety Act. This is a general offense provision where the fine is significantly lower than the Section 291. When the Section 290 of the HCA is being used, we are unfortunately unable to track which ones specifically associate to handheld devices. So we are currently looking at a way to better track that. We do conduct cell phone enforcement where we have plainclothes officers at intersections and in areas where we have received complaints in relation to this type of offense. And that's my report, Chair.
Any questions? Councillor Beck?
Yeah. Thanks for that, Chief. What's the difference in the fine amount between the summary offense ticket and the general provision? I guess I have 2 questions, Chief. One would be, what's the difference in the fine amount between the summary offense ticket and the general offense provision? And why would you choose one over the other? Or in what instances would you choose one over the other?
It can be a lot of variables involved in officer discretion, Council Beck. And too many to speculate on, and it could be, the general circumstances. But, I can tell you my team is fully aware that distracted driving is an issue in the community. But they also, are using common sense approach to enforcing the Highway Traffic Act and understand, because there is a couple $100 difference in the price of the cell phone to the 290 provision. So it's,
Is there a point difference as well?
there's no points subtracted from the 290 section also.
And there is from the other
And
summary?
there is from the handheld device.
And what's the point reduction in that?
I'm not sure, but I think it's 2 points
Okay. Of 12.
of 12.
So would it be safe to say that the general provision would be half of what the summary offense ticket would be?
Yeah, so using the handheld device is $225, and I believe it's been a few days since I've handed out one, but that's my recollection, and then the general provision section is around $90
Okay.
with no points.
We good, Councillor Beck?
Yeah, so just in terms of going back to the discretion in terms of, might it be a question of certainty? Like, would it be like, if I might go to the general provisions because I'm not quite as certain that the offense happened, or is it a question of that, or is it just,
No, if the charge is laid, there'd be no question about certainty.
okay,
It would be certainly the circumstance, the speed, the area, the individual himself, the general circumstances surrounding, is there a previous history or not? Just a first-time offense?
okay,
There's a lot of variables in that, and but certainly we encourage our officers to be laying the appropriate offenses, certainly in types of areas like where they promote, pose the greatest danger, school zones, construction zones, high-speed areas, and ask them to use very little discretion associated to those areas.
Okay. Would 35 be an alarming number, Chief, or would that be a expected number, above average, below average? What would you say about that?
I would expect that 35 is a low number, and that if we were able to actively get the stats for the general provision section, it's probably double or triple that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Thanks, Chief, for providing that.
Thank you.
Just a clarification.
Go ahead, your worship.
So, Chief, there's two types of convictions, summary and indictable, that go to the courts. So does a general provision, if I plead not guilty, if I say, no, I'm not guilty, does that go to the provincial court?
Yeah, they're both summary
Oh,
offense.
so they are?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so one's a little less in terms, so
Yeah.
general provision is still a summary conviction?
Summary conviction,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Good? Yep.
Okay, folks. Thank you, Chief, for that. That's very good information. Let's hope it helps. Just one sec, going back to my agenda here. Okay, introduction of new business, accessible taxis.
So, Mr. Chair, I did send out an email.
Notice the motion?
It's going to be a notice of motion, and just on that notice, I want to say that I forwarded the email from Resource Abilities. I forwarded again to you, Chief, and to members of the standing committee, yourself again, including the deputies. If you look in the email, if you looked at the email, read the email, they're looking for a special provision. I think we're trying to get a working group, so I just want to put that out there. If we can put that, if we can come together and make this happen, because the accessibility taxi is available right now through Pat and the Elephant, but it's not accessible for everyone in terms of time, their hours of operation and days of operation. So that's why I want to bring it forward, so that we can respond to Resource Abilities on how we can work on getting a accessible taxi that I think it's a 5-year agreement between United Taxi out of Summerside and trying to work with one of the taxi stands here in Charlottetown, where I think he wants to work on his own, which I don't think is going to happen. But if we can just get some more information on that, I'd appreciate it. And just on a new business, I just want to say a big shout out to the event last night at the Provincial Community Outreach Wellness Center. Chief was there, some of the councillors, I know the deputy was there. Very, very positive reaction to the facility and its operations. And Chief could, I'm sure, concur that it has a better feel to it. It's all on one level. It's medical, it's mental health, deals with mental health challenges, drug addiction issues, misuse of alcohol. So it's got those components there to address those issues. So thanks for everybody showing up last night. Thanks.
Thank you, that, your worship, and Chief, you'll get some more information for the accessible taxis and that for our next meeting, maybe, if it's possible?
Yes, 10-4 Chair, and the mayor and I have sat on this committee for quite some time, and there are some challenges in trying to motivate businesses in our area. We'll do our best to try to work that and find solutions, and we're committed to that. And I will try to get an update and a meeting together to.
And if I could just add, Chief, I think, if members of the committee want to be part of that too, I welcome it,
Yeah.
welcome any one of you to be part of it.
Yeah.
Again, the accessible taxi is something that's available 24 hours. The Pat and the Elephant is not in those operational hours, whereas if you go to Summerside, United Taxi, I think, have 5 accessible taxis, and they're available every day. We have 0. We just have the Pat and the Elephant. That way, we'll get more information. Thanks.
Excellent. Okay, a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mayor Brown, second by Deputy Mayor Yankoff. Thank you very much, folks. Enjoy your day.